makes enough of an impact. But so going straight into game number one, Tansoku on the Odd Rogue, and Cocosasa is going to be on the Hunter.
Deja vu. We cast this at the first match of the series last time, I think, as well. And now the Odd Rogue is going first. So I think this should be slightly better for the Odd Rogue, although there is still Spellstone plus Secret available for the Hunter. That is always going to make things difficult. Cocosasa also has a 1-drop to make sure that Tansoku is not just able to push free damage. And he doesn't have one of the choice 3-drops.
Right. It's almost the extent with Odd Rogue. If you want some free Odd Rogue advice to people watching, you often just even almost want to just mulligan for one of those 3-drops. There's rarely many cards that are more powerful than them just in isolation. So I was even talking like, oh yeah, the power spike from this deck comes at turn 3, which is normally insane when you talk about a card game that can go on to like 15, 20 turns potentially.
Tansoku, with the pickup of Cold Blood, now has an option, whereas the last turn looked like just a Tar Creeper. He could go Flame Elemental and Cold Blood, which is less mana efficient, but it pushes the damage real quick. We also see that Cocosasa has Spring Paw in hand, so that makes that a little bit less tempting. Tansoku is actually aiming face with the dagger, which I can respect if he wants to test for Wandering Monster.
Yeah, I think one of the things Tansoku is thinking about is with this deadly poison in hand, you don't want to chuck it on just a 1 durability dagger. So if the attack happens now, you kind of then go on a stage of reacting to what the secret could be. The Tar Creeper comes down this turn, and the next turn there could be dagger up, deadly poison, cold blood, and already you can start to see the plan formulating of, well, that secret wasn't a attack hunter secret, it was an attack minion secret, which means Tansoku, with the protection of this Tar Creeper, could just say Deadly Poison, Cold Blood on the 1-1.
Right.
All to face, let's race and see what happens.
Unfortunately for him, another secret was picked up, and it was one of the 3 attack hunter. Oh, there's 2 attack hunter, 2 attack minion, and 1 attack anything with a minion, which is Freezing Trap. And now Tansoku has to test for the second one. If he wants to continue pushing damage, and he could just chuck on the Deadly and get to business.
Yeah, he could actually even now, depending on how much stock he's putting into this Fungomancer next turn, he could actually just try, test the waters with the 1-1 and just go in. And worst case, just Cold Blood the Tar Creeper if you really want to. If this is a Freezing Trap, because you already know you don't have to attack this 1-1 Lynx, or Spring Paw, sorry. If it's Freezing Trap, we'll, oh no, I gain more Firefly stuff, great. It might not even come into this game. But it does mean that you can just jam even more damage, and also trades into the Tar Creeper go above 3 attack, which is just disastrous, as it will kill even Subject 9.
Yeah. From Tansoku's perspective, I think he's not bothered with trading off a minion because he knows there's some sort of secret related to that. Both Snake Trap and Venom Strike Trap are very inconvenient for him to deal with. He actually does not... What? Oh my gosh. Okay. I was gonna say, he didn't attack with the Firefly first in case of freezing there. He couldn't have actually avoided a minion trade because of Wandering. We know that from caster vision, but that was such a bad outcome at the end of things for Tansoku.
It's why I felt attacking with the 1-1 just always works out better, because the Deadly Poison, there aren't really any 3-drops, any 3-drop minions that you can't kill with the 1-1 plus the Deadly Poisoned weapon, and that protects your Tar Creeper. But now, very quickly, this game has gone out of hand because Rogue doesn't beat this. Most of the time. There are no real cards, and also Tansoku hasn't put Cocosasa at health total that even Leroy, Cold Blood, Deckhand, get some there with the dagger with insane amounts of damage, because sometimes you can, but not this time.
Nothing gets there over 2 turns. The upside is you can play Leroy with no Whelp spawned.
Great.
Feels
and then
good.
You die.
Yeah. Yeah, over 2 turns, Tansoku is absolutely dead from his perspective, I think. Is he just dead on the next turn if he doesn't think Cocosasa has 15 showing on board? He has Kill Command. And the hero power. Not quite enough, but if he could clear off his own minion, maybe the Razor Maw provides some lethal out. I don't think it's relevant. Probably won't happen on only 5 mana, but there's no way Odd Rogue gets out of this over 2 turns.
Yeah, there's just too much health there, because with Leroy and they push with the dagger, that's 10. That puts Cocosasa to 13. But then the Deckhand re-dagger, so that's 4 damage, but also 3 mana. Well, nothing else gets in there with the rest of the mana.
I mean, the best thing he can draw next turn is like another Deadly or
right? 'Cause if you go for the face plan, you can't deviate because then you also lose. So looks like this is potentially going to be a very, very quick game number one. I think just a quick mention as well, as you can see, both these players are 5-0 in Swiss so far. Almost certain for them to get into the top cut. Stranger things can happen, of course, but whoever wins this is guaranteed into the top cut, and even the loser is probably going to make it. So this is still just, you want to go through it as smoothly as possible, get on one of those highlight reels, just insane streaks throughout tournaments.
True, I want to see that Mukla on a highlight reel, my goodness.
Yeah, that was insane, because that literally just 1v1 the Tar Creeper.
Tar Creeper attack first should have happened, just from a blind second secret perspective. He hadn't tested for freezing trap in that.
And it doesn't have available to it, but now, Gia, we're just going into a good old-fashioned Odd Rogue mirror.
My favorite. Not only because the deck is pretty straightforward, it's because the intricacies and differences in the mulligan, for particularly the mirror, are quite counterintuitive to what you're normally used to as Odd Rogue, keeping things like Deadly Poison, Tar Creeper, even Vilespine on coin. And we see Tansoku with a Blood Knight keep actually to respond to a turn 1 Argent Squire.
Yeah, and I think the mulligan differences are really displayed even in Cocosasa's singular kept card, which is a deckhand. And that's because, guess what? 2 damage from a deckhand and 2 damage from a dagger. Kill a henchman third. So having those answers to an extremely tempo-focused matchup is so important. And I'd have to say right now, although Tar Creep is a great pickup, double Deadly Poison, the deckhand, and even to a certain extent the coin, is actually very, very powerful for Cocosasa.
It is, and Cocosasa, with the pickup of 1-drop into 1-drop, now has something to do between answering things. I was going to say, a completely reactive hand looks good on paper, but then you're just not actually able to leverage your board advantage of having a weapon that kills 2 things if you're not playing anything onto the board.
Yep, and now we see the what Cocosasa's going to choose to do to deal with this. It looks like double Deadly Poison to take down this Tar Creeper, drops the Diamol, and then going forward, there is Coin Valspine, there's Deckhand Cold Blood. There's so many options right now for Cocosasa to get ahead, and Tansoku's hand just feels a little bit too late game for me, because Myra's, although fantastic as a card, is often a, right, I play this, then I end the game in a turn. It's not I play this to play out the rest of the game long term at all. And look at this return.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. The double Deadly actually really interests me because he also had the option to play 1 Deadly and the South Sea Deckhand, which I think over more turns gets you more value because Odd Rogue hardly plays minions that have more than 4 health. It's just Tar Creeper and sometimes the Quote Scalebane, which would not have been online anyway. So this dagger is pretty much not going to swing into anything good or anything you're particularly happy to swing into. So I'm not sure about the reasoning for that, whereas he could have had 2 4-attack daggers over more turns and possibly have dealt with more minions. But maybe Cocosasa thinks his hand is so slow and so reactive that maybe he just wants to push the second charge phase, start playing things like Cold Blood this turn.
Yeah, and I think as well, the fear of maybe even a second Tar Creeper, because Tansoku's not really played anything this game, he must have the late game stuff. And also the deckhand is just nice and flexible, and even the deckhand may actually gain you more damage over time than the over damage from the double Deadly Poison. So I like it overall, but I do feel like Cocosasa needs one more good draw to try and really push this game.
Tansoku, though, with a pretty good reactive hand of his own, he can use Deckhand and SI to clear off these threats. That 6-attack dagger will always be looming over his head, but at least that's not going to take some insane minion kill.
Right. I think what's a little bit scary, and if I was in Cocosasa's shoes, was next turn, obviously based on what Tansoku does right now, I'd probably just swing that dagger, because to certain extents, the damage lead you can get is just too much to handle, because you always, at minimum, can dagger up, deal 2, and deal 2 next.
Yeah, and on top of that, just look at Cocosasa's hand. He has nothing outside of, I mean, after this Vilespine Void Ripper, sure. Baku, that's nothing. He has to go face now.
Worst draw in the deck. Coin into Vilespine Slayer into nothing else. And he looks like he's going to swing face. It's not much longer you can just miss damage from, because next turn he almost certainly will have the mana to read aggro.
Ooh, and without a Vile Spine of Tansoku's own, he will be soaking up the 3 damage. So effectively, he has 11 health to work with. It could even be 4 damage if Cocosasa just wants to rip the Void Ripper. And I think it's a pretty important damage breakpoint to put your opponent either at 10 or 11. Like the 10 makes him so much more vulnerable to 2-card combos. Like Deckhand Cold Blood plus Dagger, Leroy Cold Blood. So
I really like this as well, just preempting the Cold Blood onto the Diamol, which most importantly, although you're like, well, the Diamol's just dead, and so what? Well, one, it kills the Vile Spine instead of not killing the Vile Spine, but also the Van Cleef is in such an awkward health total, as you mentioned. Rogues really don't have many minions above 4, but suddenly this Van Cleef is an extra one that Cocosasa has to try and deal with.
Cocosasa, with the pickup of Firefly, has something else to do in the turn because he was definitely committed to daggering. All of this is getting shipped face, so that's actually one of the better draws he could have gotten outside of second Cold Blood, I suppose.
Yeah, and this is what I meant about the dagger swing, right? Because you make the health...
Baku's for everyone.
Fair game. The health differentiation is so high that Cocosasa can just ignore this relatively scary turn that Tansoku did. If the health totals were more even, you'd be terrified of a 6-6, but suddenly it's like, well, you just have to keep trading to me, and my dagger keeps going.
Yeah, this way that Cocosasa has been very aggressively pushing and even sending the 6 attack dagger to face, I think he buys himself one more turn where Tansoku has to make trades whereas he doesn't necessarily want to. I think he has to trade everything on the board, even dagger down the 2-1 to prevent a Cold Blood target or a Fungal Mancer target. And that, I think, makes it so that Tansoku will not have 2-turn lethal. Okay. If he does it this way, he will have 2-turn lethal, but he will not be respecting the additional damage. So just top decks. And this is going to determine it. What is in the box?
Ooh. And that turn from Tansoku was extremely good because at one point, if he trades an 8-8 into anything but a face, you don't kill them next turn. And if you don't kill them next turn, you may as well be dead anyway. So you just say, you know what? If they draw the 1 damage, game, whatever. The times they don't, I win. So by doing this kind of weird looking play, Tansoku has gained a percentage chance to win as opposed to just a slower loss, which is very, very heads up and takes a lot of discipline to do, actually.
I think that's absolutely the right play. I was thinking he had to trade because he would have been dead on board, but he spotted that he was actually alive at 1 like this, and now Cocosasa on the backswing is the one who's forced to trade into the 5-3, and then he is still facing 12 showing on board, being at 15.
And it's really funny because Tansoku lives, well, Myra's just creates such a high chance that some damage is drawn. It's absolutely kind of absurd.
It's so difficult to calculate the percentages on this. Even the Firefly trade, well, doing that removes just the SI7 agent out for you. Granted, he did not hold the Flame Elemental. And but by trading, then you remove a Fungal Mancer out for Tansoku.
Right, and now Myra's would require a Cold Blood and a Deadly Poison, or a Leroy exactly.
I am on the edge of my seat. This is just so close.
I don't
even know if you're supposed to Myra's here to try to look for Cold Blood plus something. It's probably not that likely.
Who goes there? Glory to
the problem now is, I guess he's with the trade, still sets up the lethal. He's removed Fungomancer as a threat, so there needs to be what exactly Leroy?
Right.
And he knows there's no deadly poisons anyway, or it would have to be Deckhand Cold Blood, but he also probably knows Baku's not is Baku's in hand anyway, because what card wouldn't you have played?
That, I think, is just gonna close it out. Wow, what an intense series.
Leroy just for good measure, and Cocosasa a little bit disappointed with that game. That did look all wrapped up, but a couple of unfortunate draws followed by some very nice heads-up play from Tansoku. Ended up getting it done. People don't like Hunter, and then they find out Priest is the deck that's not to be named. So that's actually a pretty funny one, although I am with you on the Hunter. And now like Tansoku already, as these players just mulligan quickly, get into the game as fast as possible. Cocosasa has a, what I would call a 50-50 hand. Gargoyle, tick. Grizzly, tick. Malygos, Lich King, It's a kind of awkward versus Hunter, whereas Tansoku, I would love to see a coin Razormaw out this turn.
Yeah, I mean, it just curves into the second one, the priest outside of having the Holy Smite to deal with it, which you're not too sad to see in the first place because it's less burst potential would be the punish for that. He did, however, hold back on it, probably looking to coin out a Subject 9, I suppose, on turn 4.
I think maybe even potentially just coin out Dire Frenzy.
Sure.
You push more damage, and also if you Dire Frenzy a Razormaw and then draw one with either Master's Call or Naturally, you can just kill them.
Yeah.
And the game gets very savage very quickly.
It curves really well as well because you get to use the second to potentially put Wind Fury on the first one, play a Secret as well, and then you have the Subject 9 to follow up. But Tansoku is just going to go for some more reactive play. I don't mind this either because it's... Well, actually, they could coin Mass Hysteria at this point. Or Ziliax.
Always. Every time you think you're doing well as the aggro deck, Ziliax comes out of nowhere. The Grizzly's going to come down this turn, but we can see the Ziliax is absolutely nutty. But the Dire Frenzy just lines up so well.
Yeah.
The Hunter's Mark does change a few things, but I don't know if it's worth it. Like Hunter's Mark into Razormaw.
It lines up like okay, right? Because you still have to trade one other thing.
Yeah, I just mean just because it lives, and then also it actually is not vulnerable to Mass Hysteria anymore, which sounds really silly because it's like, I'm going to lose minions so I don't die to this potential AoE that may be in hand.
What it is vulnerable to is Ziliax, unfortunately. And yeah, I mean, Cocosasa, he just needs some Shadow Visions to get the Spellstone going, and then he just has the two best anti-aggro minions in the pool after he uses the Ziliax, and that seems pretty rough for the Hunter.
Right. Also, to be honest, for me, the Dire Frenzy opens up powerful turns going forward because you just draw insanely powerful and cheap minions, which is in the form of the Razormaws. And also, if your opponent's got Grizzly into Ziliax, then you know what? They've got it, and it's going to be a tough game no matter what you do.
It's a Servitude Raven. Why don't we just get subtle in here for this one? Neither of us wants to cast it. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, I definitely want to cast it. I go through the pain that Tansoku is feeling right now as a Hunter player.
Our series have been going really quick, and honestly, I feel a little bit sad about that because you guys have been at playoffs for so long. This is my first one, and I really hope to develop an inside joke in my time here. I want to say bootleg something, but it just hasn't happened.
Okay, we've still got time. We've still got time. There's all tomorrow. We can work on it. I will say though that the Eternal Servitude is definitely rough, and Cocosasa has the joy of being able to pick the relevant one as well, because he has literally one of two, I guess, if he's doing it before the trade. But yeah, he could pick whatever he wanted. And now though, the Hunter's Mark might get some work done going forward.
Yep.
Oh, look at that.
If only there were a Spring Pod to go along with this.
Yeah, you can't draw one either.
He could get Wind Fury onto the Subject 9, which with the Hunter's Mark could clear both of the things.
God, look at that. Like, you can double Razormaw and still Hunter's Mark.
Yeah.
There's Wind Fury as well. Also,
he could...
it's a silver lining, but you trade into the Ziliax. It doesn't heal the priest for anything.
Yeah.
Because the priest is on full health. But still, you've got to just take your little wins where you can find them.
Yeah, that's a win for me. The Scavenging Hyena can also be played instead of second Razormaw if he's using Hunter's Mark this turn, which I think it most likely will come out. He could also try to isolate the Grizzly and then play Freezing Trap, which I also like.
Yeah, the worry with that is Cocosasa, especially because it's the Witchwood Grizzly, would never attack anyway. It's just like, well, okay, this stays as a taunt. There is Cloning Gallery, which will not have the strongest Cloning Gallery in the world because of Malygos and Lich King there. But I think I like either of these plays. The Hyena creates a singular awkward target to deal with, and that's really what this version of Priest has a problem with, just one big target. Now there's two.
And the health cutoffs make it so that Mass Hysteria alone won't be a punish. Mass Hysteria plus Spirit Lash or Holy Smite would be, but putting the Priest on having two cards, they always have it on ladder, but who knows if they'll have it in tournament.
And this is definitely a strange thing because although it's 50% joke, but 50% honest, is that the Spirit Lash there cleared the Hyena. Fantastic, don't get me wrong. But that's one Spirit Lash down, healed for no recovery heal.
Yeah.
And you left a minion on board, and these Razor Maws now are just getting the work done.
And Tansoku's hand doesn't have that much juice. It's a bunch of secrets, but it could just carry him in this instance where Cocosasa still has not drawn any good removal. Although I don't think he's running Shadow Word Death and Pain in his list. No, it's Tansoku's list that has the one of. Cocosasa instead has double Power Word Shield in what you could call the flex slot. He does have Lich King to stall for a bit. This cloning gallery is not going to pull anything good anymore, is it?
It's Lyra, Radiant Elemental, and the Gargoyle, right? Although that Spellstone is fantastic.
Yeah. And the Freezing Trap. Tansoku was hovering over that last turn to maybe prevent Ziliax from doing some things, but he realizes just a secret being there will probably prevent Cocosasa from attacking anyway.
Also, as well, interesting enough, this Candle Shot opens up not a full player, but you can just leave the Gargoyle up and have a big hit with this Hyena. Because, funnily enough, like the Wind Fury killing the Grizzly is just very funny to me because the Razor Maw lives on 1 health to attack again and they just trade.
He's a real trooper. Taking two for the team.
Yep. Going back for more, and now this Freezing Trap is gonna make a bit of a problem with this Gargoyle, because Gargoyle's one of the minions that you do want to attack with. You want it to die as the priest. You don't care that it's a minion.
Especially knowing that the cloning gallery is not going to pull anything relevant, I think incentivizes the kill onto the Gargoyle even more. And Tansoku doesn't know that though.
Right.
He will be worried about a turn 9 gallery. But for Cocosasa, it's not going to accomplish very much.
It's not. We might even just see, Valen heal, potentially, and just see what happens.
Or Lich King, to at least put something in the way.
Anduin's just kind of like a gold digger when it comes to Gargoyle, right? You don't care about the Gargoyle, you just want its money.
That is a really good way of putting it.
Come for the Lich King though to just block out this attack.
He has seen 100's mark, so that's a bit of a relief.
Oh,
wow.
It's such a good card.
Spring Pause here. Oh, I think... Oh, but there's still the Dire Frenzy. Razor Maws. Just the poisonous on this would be really insane. My goodness. Cocosasa is praying. No Razor Maw, but it is there. Is there poisonous? There is.
Whoa, wait. Attack him with the links first.
You're right.
You want to throw the links away?
It should be lethal, right?
Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. You can put it into the Gargoyle depending on order. It doesn't matter. But yeah, you attack him first. Buff the Hyena, and I believe with the Hero Power and a quick poke with that Candle Shot, that is going to be 13. And just about Tansoku gets there with the Hunter. And to be honest, that was a good draw from Cocosasa in terms of the Ziliax, in terms of the Grizzly, but those Dire Frenzied Razor Maws were just insane, and then the Master's Call right at the end, as and when needed.
It's not.
Everything's going wrong, dear. Everything's going wrong.
Okay, this mirror.
This mirror gets... This goes one of two ways,
Yeah.
in my experience. Either one player gets the clone and the spellstones and the burst, and just ends the game, because neither player can stop themselves from dying. They have 30 health, and that's just the way it is. Or weird things happen, and the games get very funky indeed, with potentially players going off on, say, Lyra, if they can, even from early points, depending on if these Radiant Elementals are drawn. I will say, looking at the hands now, I am unfortunately no Cloning Priest expert, but when it comes to Xerix and even Shadow Visions, that they look quite appealing. Spirit Lash less so.
Often happen because one player has to respond to an individual minion sticking. It happens when one person draws their Malagos or Valen naturally. Then they're forced to use something like Shadow Word Death to put it in the pool, or they're doing Screams and then the gallery has already been used, and then you're forced to try to find lethal in just scrap together scavenging ways.
Yeah, and even a Shadow Visions this early, I feel is very difficult, and Cocosasa plays around it by just picking Shadow Visions from Shadow Visions, which is nice. But for me, it's hard to say what you will need right now. If your opponent floods the board with Spellstones or a Cloning Gallery, then Scream is fantastic.
Both these players have the cloning. Both these players run the same set of minions in their Cloning Priest decks, not running the 5-minion version or any of those shenanigans. They both have Shadow Visions to potentially fish for Mind Blast. This could be over really quick. I mean, they're both getting coins.
Yeah, this is just accelerated Hearthstone at this point. And now, though, that is a very big deal. The Spellstone being in hand right now means usage of these coins, of these spells, are going to actually start buffing this Spellstone very quickly. Whereas now, on the flip side, Tansoku has the more reactive hand in form of the Psychic Scream and maybe even the Shadow Visions. And we're just going to see Gargoyle hits Gargoyle, Eternal Servitude Gargoyle.
How bad is a Tempo Lyra here? I don't play enough of this deck to know, but Cocosasa's not running Shadow Word Pain.
Yeah, it's Tansoku that's running 1 pain, 1 death,
right.
And Cocosasa is running double powered shield. But I think you don't care about Lyra right now,
right.
Because the poke damage often doesn't do anything, whereas you just want more and more coins because you, I think, almost always want to clone in gallery first.
Right. You definitely want to race for it, especially not just to make sure you do it before your opponent can do it at their earliest possibility, like if they got all the coins in the gallery in hand already, just so you do it before you start drawing the stuff that you don't want to draw, the Valen and the Malygos naturally. And he unfortunately was not able to kill off the Gargoyle this turn. So Tansoku will have to wait, and with the triple coin in hand, Cocosasa can pull that off on turn 6. Disgusting.
It's actually a little bit scary. And also, we just saw that I just want to touch on Vivid Nightmares picked from the Shadow Visions for Cocosasa means that Vivid Nightmares is just that one extra card that just bursts randomly, because sometimes you have Velen down with Radiant Elemental, then you just Vivid Nightmares, okay, double Velen dead. You know, and it's similar with Malygos as well, so you can get a little bit scary. Now Cocosasa gonna make that choice. Does he just drop it down?
I mean, he doesn't have any burst is the thing. It's just to get them in the pool and threaten your opponent. And also if they don't have Scream or Lash, it's pretty scary.
Yeah, I think it's fine anyway, because most importantly, double Spellstone in hand for Cocosasa is, oh no, Lash, summon the big versions. Oh no, somehow the Scream, summon the big versions again. You know, like all these spells are going to stack up and start creating these Spellstones to be an absolute nightmare for Tansoku.
The Scream is actually a big punish, right? Because nothing will have died, and Cocosasa drew the cloning gallery naturally, I think.
Right.
So he could not visions for another one. And so to get those heavy hitters into the Death Rattle pool, he would have to draw them naturally and then play them out and wait for them to die. So is there a world where Cocosasa waits for the burst instead here, so he doesn't waste cloning gallery into a Scream turn?
Well, one of the interesting points there is that he used Spirit Lash last turn. Could he have saved it, waited a turn, and then used coins to coin out Spirit Lash to wipe his own board, so they are then in that pool? Gonna be difficult because his hand was filling up as well, so I think he did have to play something.
So Tansoku with a similar problem. He has Burst, but with Valen and Malygos, those Holy Smites are dealing 14 apiece. Oh, that's lethal, so I mean, you go for it.
Yeah.
Oh, but, yeah, you only need 1 Radiant, obviously, because it's not... Okay, he's pointing them face. That is really quick. Spoilers, he got it.
What is this deck? It's ridiculous. Arms raised. Yeah, good job, Tansoku. I actually like you as a player, but that was filthy. And no one, Sol or anyone else, will say otherwise.